Welcome to session 2 of Rest and Renew. This session today is all about receiving. Oftentimes when we go through life, it is so normal and expected for us to give and give and give and just have all of this energy output, and it is rarely encouraged or even expected of us to slow down, stop, and receive, fill back up ourselves so that we can continue to have a life of reciprocity. So receiving is the intention for today's class, and identifying our needs and the fact that we deserve to have needs. We get to have needs, and it's not selfish. It is natural and it's necessary. So this class today, you will need all of the usual props, such as a couple blankets and blocks. If you want to have a bolster, you can. I don't have it planned for class today, but you never know what you'll need, so you can have that close by if you want. And as always, anything else that you might need to support you in this time that is completely about you and your body and your heart and your mind. I'd like to start in a seated shape today. I am sitting on a folded blanket with another blanket underneath me. You could choose to sit in a cross-legged position as well, or you might decide to sit in a different way. Go ahead and choose a shape that works for you, and I'll meet you there. And we'll start with just a little bit of grounding, just taking a moment to close down the eyes if that feels safe for you, and if it doesn't, you could choose to keep your eyes open. There's no right or wrong here. What do you need in this moment? I invite you to take a moment to tune into your body and specifically focus on where the clothing meets your skin. So tuning into your sense of touch at the very outer layer of your body. Spending another 3 breaths here. You might even notice the temperature of your body. And then after your 3rd breath, you might shift your awareness a little bit deeper, noticing the natural rhythm of your inhales and exhales for the next 5 rounds of breath. Last breath. And as always, everything in this class is your choice. So I'm just here to provide options and suggestions, but at the end of the day, what you decide to do with your body is up to you. And I celebrate your right to choose. I offer to you this short poem by Jacquie Compton. And she writes, "I am enough. I am full of love. I am wise. I know what I need, and I deserve to have needs. I know what I need, and I deserve to have needs." Taking just a few more breaths, tuning into your heart space, into your body, asking yourself, what do I need to receive in this session today? And then allowing whatever it is that you need to receive to be at the front and center of your practice today. You might allow that to be a guiding light for what you choose to do with your body or breath, if you decide to move more or less. Allow that need to be your guiding light. You might even work with the affirmation, I deserve blank. And then whatever that thing is that you felt come up from the depths of you that said, I need to receive this XYZ thing, maybe fill in the blank with that. I deserve blank, or I deserve to receive blank. And then once you have your affirmation, you might take a conscious breath into it. Settling it into your heart, into your body. And with your next inhale, or when you decide you are ready to begin moving, you might start to breathe your arms up, overhead, perhaps finding some length through your spine, finding lots of opening. And then as you exhale, option to place one hand down on the floor next to you. As you reach your other arm over in a nice side stretch, perhaps you just stay here. Maybe this is a good place to be, or option two, peel your top arm back, kind of like you're looking over your shoulder, and then reach it back over. So you choose stillness or movement. Could always make some big circles with your arm, kind of like you're doing, what is that swimming posture called? Breaststroke, maybe? I'm not a swimmer, obviously. So whatever you choose. Maybe a little bit of all three as we take 2 more rounds of breath here. Last one. And then as you inhale next, if you feel complete, I'll meet you right back at the top with the arms reaching up. And then an exhale, maybe you find it on the other side. Same 3 options apply here, stillness or movement. Maybe circles, maybe not. Let's take another 4 rounds of breath here. And as always, you might be on the same rhythm of breath as me. Maybe 4 breaths feels like enough. Maybe it feels like too much or not enough. So these 4 breaths are just a suggestion. You always decide what is best for your body. And we'll take our last breath here. I'll meet you back at center whenever you arrive there. Option to bring your hands down to heart center. Pausing here for just a moment. Noticing any changes in your side body, the area around your ribs. If you're ready to continue moving, you could place your hands somewhere over your legs or thereabouts, and option to start adding some movement into your spine. You could sway side to side. You could also explore some torso circles. Maybe they're really big, maybe they're really small, or somewhere in between. But moving in a way that feels rhythmic to you. And if you are making circles and you'd like to explore going the other way, you might switch directions. One more breath in and out at your own pace. And if you're making circles, you might slowly start to make smaller circles, slowly coming back to center until you find a stillness. In your own timing, you might meet me in a tabletop shape. If it helps to have a blanket underneath your knees, option to place one there. And so with your knees somewhere underneath your hips, it doesn't have to be perfect, but thereabouts, and your hands somewhere underneath your shoulders. However, if you feel like your shoulders are really tight, it actually might be helpful to take your hands a little bit wider than shoulder distance. And if your wrists are feeling tender, it might be helpful to take your hands a little bit forward, a little bit in front of your shoulders. It takes a little bit of the angle off of your wrists. So taking some intuitive movements here, let's just take 3 rounds of breath. Maybe your legs are asking to be stretched out. Maybe take a few ankle rolls. Maybe something else is being requested from your body. 2 more breaths here. All right. We'll have 3 options here that we will return to another couple times during practice. So option 1 is child's pose. You could take your knees a little bit wider than your hips. Maybe your toes touch back behind you. As you send your hips back toward your heels, you could walk your hands forward, maybe rest your forehead on your mat. Or if having your gaze down just doesn't feel welcome, you could always bend your elbows, plant them on the floor, and keep your gaze up just like this. Second option is from tabletop, drawing your abdominal muscles inward, about 50% engagement. It's not a whole core workout. It's not the point, right? But having some engagement just to support your lower back. You could begin to walk your hands forward. This is called puppy pose. And then allow your forehead to come down toward the mat. It might not rest on the mat, and that's okay. That's not the point. We're just heading in that direction. This is a really big shoulder, thoracic spine, heart opener. So this is option number 2. Option number 3 is downward facing dog. So from tabletop, I like to walk my hands forward a little bit to give me some extra space. And then tucking your toes, you could start to keep your knees bent if you want to. I like to start here. It kind of helps my hamstrings. And then send the hips up towards the sky. And then you could walk your feet out. So that means like releasing one heel to the floor and then the other, kind of like you're pedaling out your feet. You could go straight for having both legs extended, but if you are just stretching your hamstrings for the first time today like I am, going straight into down dog might feel a little tight. So 3 options for the next 4 or so rounds of breath. You can always change your mind after you try one. Child's pose, puppy pose, downward facing dog. 3 more breaths here. I deserve to receive. What do you deserve to receive? What is that fill in the blank for you? After your last breath, if you are ready to release where you're at, you might begin to meet me back in tabletop. And then we'll just take a child's pose for a few breaths. Pausing here. And then if you have blocks, you might go ahead and grab just one of them. And we'll explore a side stretch. Dapper. And we'll explore a side stretch from child's pose if you'd like to join me. So you could stay at center, or you could take your block, move it on over to the right side of your mat, probably off of your mat really. And then so from center, you could start to lift your head to look at your hands. And then if you'd like to take the side stretch, you could walk your hands over to the right, placing one hand on the block, the other hand on top, and then returning back to lowering your gaze down if that feels okay. So of course, now that we have the block here, we're going to be much more lifted away from the floor. So I have my head kind of resting in between my arms here. If you want to keep your gaze up, that is always an option. And I invite you to be here with me for the next 3 rounds of breath, however you can choose to leave sooner or stay longer. And for those 3 rounds of breath, I welcome you to bring your awareness into your left ribs, noticing what it feels like when you take a deep breath in compared to when you exhale. Starting to find completion on this side. If you're ready to move on, you could lift your gaze, walk your hands back to center, and then taking your block with you, moving it on over to the left side. Hands can start at center again, or you can just head on over to the left, whatever works best for you. I'll meet you there in this side stretch on the left side if you choose to take it. Everything in this class is your choice. Three more rounds of breath here. Perhaps you bring your awareness to the area around your right ribs now. starting to find completion here. Whenever you're ready, you might meet me back at center. An option to shift forward, coming into a tabletop shape. If your legs are asking for a little stretch, you might go ahead and stretch your legs out. All right, and then from tabletop pose, we'll explore a little bit of balancing. So there's a couple different ways we can do this. You could keep your right leg exactly as it is, and then shifting your weight into your right hand, extending your left leg, start to peel up. Maybe you keep your left toes on the floor, maybe you hover. If you're feeling like, wow, balance is just a little bit funky for me today, it might be helpful to take your right foot, kind of swing it out toward the right, maybe even tucking your toes, and notice if that is helpful for you. And again, you could keep the left toes connected to the floor, or you could lift your left leg up. I welcome you to take 3 rounds of breath here. Embracing all of the wobbles, embracing being human. The shakes and the wobbles are normal. I am wobbling, and that's okay. One more breath. And if your left leg is extended, you could leave it extended as you bring your left hand back down to the floor. So now we're in tabletop, but the left leg is lifted. 2 options though. You could have it lifted, or you could keep your left toes on the floor with your left leg still extended. So those 2 options are available to you. A third option is to extend your right arm. And you might bring some focus, some awareness to your center here. Noticing what's going on in the center of your body. Can you feel some of your strength start to kick in? Your body naturally knows what to do. 2 more breaths here, or less or more, depending on what you need. Option to release your hand down to the floor, followed by your leg. And taking just a few spinal movements from tabletop as you breathe in. Option to drop your stomach, your spine, down toward the floor as you press your hands away from your mat, opening up through your heart, through your chest. Exhale, you could start to curl your spine in the opposite direction, maybe drawing your chin and your tailbone toward one another. 2 more just like that. Last one if you choose to take it. I'll meet you back at center whenever you get there. And then we'll take it on the other side. So you could leave the left side of your body as is, and then start to peel your right side up and away. Or you could create a kickstand here, so swinging your left foot out, maybe tucking your left toes. Option to keep your right toes connected to the floor, or hover. You choose, you decide. What do you need here? Feeling the natural engagement of your muscles. How cool is it that we didn't even really have to think about what to engage? Our body just does it for us. So taking this moment of celebration for your body, how intelligent your body is. 2 more breaths here if you'd like to join me for them. All right, if you are ready to, you could take your right hand and bring it back down to the mat. So we're now in this back and tabletop, but maybe your right leg is still lifted, or maybe your right toes are connected to the floor. Option to stay here, or if you'd like, you could lift your left hand. Noticing what happens to your center when you hold this shape. Two more breaths here. I love these shapes because it automatically makes me so appreciative of the natural strength in my body. So if that feels supportive for you, you might take this moment of just appreciating your muscles, how strong your body is. And releasing your left hand to the floor if you're ready to, followed by your right. Followed by a little bit of intuitive movement. If your wrists would appreciate some tender love and care, you could take one wrist and flip the back of your palm down, really mindfully stretching the back of your wrist. So my weight is shifted over to my left hand actually. I'm not really putting much weight on my right wrist at all. Just be really mindful. It's a very delicate area. And then followed by flipping your right palm to the floor, but this time maybe your fingers point back toward you. And again, being really mindful. If this feels really intense, shift your weight forward and notice how that takes some of the edge off, some of the stretch off of your muscle here. All right, switching hands whenever you want to. And flipping your palm when you're ready. All right. Go ahead and roll out your wrists if that feels welcome. And then we can sit back and we'll start switching up what we're doing. So, sitting on your mat, you could allow one leg to extend. I'm gonna start on my right side just so that I don't get my lefts and rights mixed up. And with your left leg pulled in toward your body, we'll hang out here for a little while and you have a couple options. So you could stay right here at center. This is a great place to be if this is what your body is enjoying. Another option is to inhale and reach your arms up. And then as you exhale, you could start to head on over toward your extended leg, maybe resting your arm on your leg. Maybe your hand connects with the floor, or if the floor feels very far away, you could grab a block. You could rest your arm or your hand on your block. So adjust this shape so that it supports your body. And just like at the beginning of class, you could choose stillness or you could choose movement. And we'll be here for another 3 rounds of breath. Last breath. If you're ready to inhale and come back up to center, I'll meet you there. And then as you exhale, you could swim your left hand back to connect with the floor, keeping your legs as they are. Option to take a variation of Wild Thing by pressing your hips up and reaching back with your right arm, maybe taking your gaze up toward the ceiling. Taking a breath or two here. And exhale, lowering down. We'll pause at center here for a moment. And then let's take Wild Thing one more time, just because it's fun. So inhaling your arms up if you want to take it. Exhale, swimming your left hand back. And pressing up onto your left knee, lifting the hips if you want to, and reaching back. And exhale, lowering down. Let's take a second here before we rush off to the next side and just feel what you feel, what's present for you. Perhaps bringing your affirmation to the front of your mind. I deserve to receive. And then when you're ready, you could scoop up underneath your right knee, switch it out for your left. Taking a moment here. And deciding, do you want to stay here at center? How does this side feel? Maybe moving your block with you if you want to have your block. Or if you'd like to take this side stretch, you could inhale your arms up. And then as you exhale, reaching for your block, your leg, or the floor. Reaching your top arm over, only as far as you want to go. You control this stretch. Do you want to add movement? Do you prefer stillness? 3 more rounds of breath here. Last one. If you're ready to come back to center, I'll meet you there. And option for Wild Thing, sending your right hand back to the floor, pressing your hips up, reaching your left arm back. Big stretch through the front body. Holding it for as long as you want to. You decide when you're ready to release. And then we'll have the opportunity for one more Wild Thing. So taking a quick little break, just a moment. And then if you want to take it a second time, you could inhale, reach your arms up. Exhale, swim your right hand back. And pressing up when you're ready. Holding it for as long as you want to hold it. And settling back down whenever you're ready to, taking a pause. And when you're ready for the next shape, you could meet me right here, sitting on our glutes with our feet ahead of us. I welcome you to join me in boat pose, Navasana. Now there are lots of ways we can be in this shape. So, option one, you could start right here. Now this already takes a lot of back muscle support. So you could start right here, noticing the center of your body again. Option two, place your hands over your ribs and take a conscious inhale. And then as you exhale, you might imagine your ribs settling in toward your body, toward your spine, noticing the muscle engagement that happens here. So holding that engagement, but continuing to breathe, and just know that you can release this at any time. Option one is here. Maybe you peel your toes up and come onto your heels, reaching your arms forward. Option two is to float your feet up. You can keep your knees bent. This is option two. Option three is to, this takes effort, to extend your legs out forward. I am shaking. And we can be here for about 2 to 3 more breaths. Or you can release whenever you want. Last one. Option two, pull your knees in toward your chest. Maybe a little rock side to side. We'll have the chance to do that one more time if you want to join me. Lots of work in our center. All right, last one. So our starting place is here. Maybe you bring your awareness back into the strength in your center, that natural strength that you have here, that everybody has. Reaching your hands forward if you want. You could peel your toes off of the floor. Maybe you float your legs off of the mat. Maybe you extend your legs out straight. Whoa, I almost lost it there. If you fall out of it, that's okay. You can just jump right back in. 2 more breaths, 2 to 3. Depending on how fast you're breathing. Releasing in your own timing. Coming to any seated shape. And taking a breath. With your mind's eye, can you search through your body and find a sensation of warmth? If you're ready for our next shape, you could extend your legs out in front of you. Here's where we have a couple options. Actually, if you don't have a blanket nearby and you'd like to use one, you could have it. You can go ahead and grab it and have it. I'm gonna roll my blanket up and then I'm gonna slide it underneath my knees. Now, you could have your ankles, your legs together and touching. That is going to create a bigger stretch in your hamstrings, these big muscles in the backs of your legs. If you would appreciate a bit more spaciousness, or if your muscles are just feeling very tight, you could take your feet about hip distance apart, or even as wide as your mat. So there really is no like correct way to do this. It's just whatever feels right to you. And then taking your blocks and having them in front of you, you can stack them on top of each other. We'll take a caterpillar pose. So just like a caterpillar will be, actually I don't even know why this is called caterpillar pose. It doesn't make any sense. But we will start here in a seated shape, maybe taking an inhale to start. And then as you exhale, you could begin to curl your spine down. You might need to adjust your blocks. And setting your blocks up so that it can catch your forehead. And you might have to experiment with the height of your blocks. And your arms can rest wherever they fall. Or if it helps to like hold on to your legs or hold on to your feet, that's also an option. And I invite you to be here for the next 8 to 10 rounds of breath. However, you can leave whenever you want. Last 1 or 2 breaths here. Starting to find completion if you're ready to, because if you're not, you could stay longer. There's no rush. When you decide you're ready to start rolling yourself up, you can do so very gently, just taking all of the time in the world, coming up really slowly. If you feel a little dizzy, that's just your blood pressure regulating. And then we'll begin to find our way down onto our backs. You can remove the blocks in the blanket. And we will be setting up for one more shape, and then we'll be moving into our time of rest. So if you know that you'll need something for your Shavasana, your time of rest, you can go ahead and grab it and have it nearby so that you don't have to get up. So as you come onto your back, you could have your feet planted on the floor, or you could even pull your knees in toward your chest for just a moment. Maybe rocking side to side. And then having your right knee drawn in toward your chest, option to extend your left leg straight out, just resting it on the floor. And we'll prepare to take a twist. So with an inhale at center, you could decide to stay right here if this feels welcome, or if you'd like to join for the twist, you could send your right knee over to the left. Now, I like to untuck my left shoulder. So if you need to kind of pick up your left shoulder and readjust it, that's an option. If you feel like having your knee hanging down to the side is just a bit much, you could take a block and place it underneath your knee to support that part of your body. And your hands could be resting on your ribs, your stomach, or they could be resting down at your sides. There's no right or wrong. You can explore and choose what you prefer. And I invite you to be here for the next 7 rounds of breath. Last breath here. If you're not ready to leave this shape, you can stay here as long as you want. And if you are ready to meet me back at center and reset, switching your legs out, you could extend your right leg and pull your left knee in, breathing out, maybe taking the twist on your other side. Option to untuck your right shoulder. Hands can fall wherever you want them to. 7 breaths. Or until you decide that you are complete. One more breath here. Releasing this shape when you decide to. We'll begin to set up for our last and final shape, which is our resting shape. If resting on your back just doesn't feel supportive for you, you could choose to lie on your stomach or your side. You could also choose to send your legs up the wall, just getting a little inversion here. It's also an option. Or you could choose to stay seated and maybe rest your back against the wall so that you have a little bit of support. This time of rest is completely up to you and how it feels welcome to your body to rest. So there's no right or wrong. You can choose whatever you want. And we'll be here for the next 5 minutes or so. I'd like to read to you the poem that we read at the beginning of class by Jacquie Compton. She writes, "I am enough. I am full of love. I am wise. I know what I need, and I deserve to have needs." Bringing your affirmation to the front of your mind one last time. I deserve to receive blank. And I'll be quiet now for the remainder of our time of rest. We'll be here for another 4 or 5 minutes. You can stay in this time of rest for as long as you want. And if and when you decide you are ready to begin adding movement back into your body, you might take a few moments to stretch out, And then I'll meet you in a seated shape of your choosing whenever you get here. If you'd like, you could join me with your hands at heart center, and you could take a collective breath in and out with me if you want, starting by exhaling all of your air out, and then we'll breathe in together. Thank you for joining me in today's class. My hope for you is that you feel safe, connected, and at home in your body. Thank you.